Stream. This is April 12th, 2020. Happy Easter. Today, we're going to answer your questions. I have so many people to thank for today's 26th stream. But first, let's play the song.
This is the income stream to help you achieve your dream, all while we keep it clean. This is the income stream. It's the kind of show where you can come and go, but then you leave inspired with no fee required. The income stream with Pat Flynn.
All right. Welcome in, everybody. Thank you so much for being here today. Something a little different, starting with sort of what we're going to talk about and then going into it. I figured that's what I do with my podcast, so why don't I do that here on the stream? I think it'll be especially helpful for people who come in brand new, who have never seen us before. But anyway, welcome in. Thank you so much. This is the Income Stream, a daily live stream, at least daily until we get out of this together. And it seems like we're going to be here for a while. So we might as well make it fun. We might as well bring it every day. And we might as well come together as a community and serve and help each other, which is why I'm here. Plus, even though it's Easter, I wanted to wake up early and say hello to you. My family's asleep right now. We had a late night last night, had a lot of fun, and are just enjoying each other's company and trying to make the best of it, of course. And of course, a big, first of all, bruh, to all the people out there who want the brah button pressed. So we wanted to get that out of the way just in case. But welcome in, and thank you all so much for your generosity. And we've already got a super chat coming in from Coach Constance. Thank you so much, Coach Constance. I appreciate you for that. You were amazing. And yes, I'm trying to lead by example here. And ever since going live, a lot of you have already stepped forward into your communities too. And that's what really this is all about, trying to lead by example and trying to show others that, you know, in this crazy time that there's going to be the helpers, right? That's what Mr. Rogers says. In times of crisis like this, look for the helpers. And if you're in need, look for helpers. But if you have the ability to, see how you might be able to help others too. By the way, all the super chats that come in, Rafal, thank you so much for that too. They get donated to the San Diego Food Bank. We've already surpassed the amount of meals that we offered in March here in April, and it's only April 12th. So we've got a lot more days, 18 more days. And I'm just excited to see what number we're gonna get. We had over 1,000 meals last month, and we're already blasting past that. So welcome in. Thank you so much. So today we're just going to do some Q&A. I'm not going to do any website reviews today. I wanted to keep it a little bit more light. In the website reviews, I tend to get a little bit brutal. You might be laughing if you've seen the website reviews because I'm trying to be as nice as possible. But I do want to be honest and open and help people out. And that's what I've learned in my mastermind groups is that brutal honesty is extremely key when it comes to helping another person succeed. So when it comes to whenever you're giving advice, especially with people that you trust, hopefully you can see that it's coming from a place of love and support. But for today, we're just going to keep it casual. We're going to answer questions. We're going to have some fun. We're going to tell some stories. However, I do want to start out by taking a sip of coffee and thanking the next super chat that's going to come in just a minute here from Denise. So Denise, welcome to the chat. Once again, thank you so much. I'll pop it down here because I want to move on for right now. But happy Easter, happy Passover, Team Flynn. I hope you're all enjoying today, and no matter where you're at in the world, no matter whether you celebrate Easter or not, just thank you so much. So today is the 26th stream, I think it is. And so I wanted to do something special. I know 26 is not really a number, but it is Easter. I want to celebrate, and I want to thank y'all. And the way I want to do this is I want to just mention some people's names here. One thing I talk about in my book, Superfans, is it's really important to recognize those in your community. And if you could do this on a regular basis, it's even better. If you have a podcast or a blog or a YouTube channel, it's a very smart thing to do to use that platform, not just to see how you might get access to A-listers in your community and the leaders in your space. Those things do give you the opportunity to do that. But we all have the opportunity because sometimes it's hard to get in front of those A-listers or have them say yes. And even if they say yes and they come on your show, it's very likely that, they're not going to share it sometimes because they're just very, very popular. But we can use these platforms to showcase and put a spotlight on our people. And when you do that, it encourages others, it thanks them, it makes them want to work even harder to be a part of the community. So that's what I wanted to do here. I'm sort of like meta telling you why I'm doing this, but also I think it's just the right thing to do, especially with something that, honestly, this is hard for me to do, to get up every morning and do this. I get energy from you. And so I wanted to give a shout out to several of you who are here, perhaps in this room right now, or maybe watching the replay later. So we started this 26 days ago on just a whim of, hey, I'm going to go live today to see how everybody's doing. And then it turned into day 2, then the first week, then 3 weeks later, and then here we are. But I wanted to give a shout out to the first commenter in that first live stream 26 days ago. So that first commenter was Birch's Lawn Care. Thank you, Birch's Lawn Care. You're the first person who commented on that very first stream 26 days ago. And I can't tell you how important that is. It's very, very important because the community, the team, Quaranteam here, if you want to call it that, Quaranteam Flynn, this is why this is fun. This is why it's exciting. It's because we're here for each other. And when you show up and you communicate back to me, it makes me want to communicate more with you. Thank you for the super chat, Sue. I appreciate you for that. Next, I am wanting to give a shout out to the first helper in the audience that I remember. This is even from day 1, I think. This was the first time I've seen somebody step up in the community here in the income stream. This was even before it was called the income stream, to help other people in the audience and to really provide value. So big shout out to Just Samson. So Samson, thank you so much. You've been in every single one of these, I think 26 days in a row. We've even communicated via text. You helped me out the other day when my stream was marked incorrectly. You helped me correct that. But you were the first one because I remember you came in and you shared some advice on how to save money on Adobe Creative Cloud. And there was this little system of having to go in and cancel your account, but then Adobe will offer you a 3-month free trial or discount on the next 3 months or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but I do remember that you helped out. So Just Samson, thank you so much for stepping up and being a part of the community and serving. And there's been so many more examples of that. People here in the audience who have stepped up to share something that they've learned, something that helped them make money. So like even look at the audience here right now. They are chatting away and telling Just Samson how helpful he has been and how helpful others are too. So well done. A second helper that I want to give a shout out and thank you to is Mary Fan. Mary, thank you so much. I've even seen a number of your Instagrams sharing how you come in here in the morning and you've shared. One really helpful thing that Mary did, and this was, I think, 4 or 5 days in, she was like, hey, Pat, I would love if there could be like a waiting room that we could get into. How might you be able to set up these streams ahead of time so the community can come in here and chat even before you come live? Before, I was just hitting go live and going live. Now I set up a little bit of a waiting room. So you can actually come into the income stream. If you go to this link here, patflynn.com/the income stream, you can come into the room even early and start chatting. And I come in here in the mornings about 7:45 to set up. I've taken a shower, I've had my coffee, or I've made my coffee, and I see there's already chatter happening and people connecting in the group, which I think is really amazing. So thank you, Mary, and big side shout out also to Paul Lipsky, who was in here to actually teach me how to do that, because it wasn't easy. YouTube doesn't make it very simple, especially when it's connected to Ecamm, but I was able to figure out though. So Mary, thank you so much for that. And in addition to that, Rap and Combat is another helper who comes in here often and shares. His name is Ern, E-R-N, and I just call him, you can call him E. We connected, and he's also very helpful. He's created a Slack group, which is really amazing. I think that's pretty amazing how he's been able to bring the community off of the Ecamm live on YouTube and bring it offline as well, which I think is really cool. So thank you, Mary. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, E. I appreciate you. Now, let's move on to another category. I feel like this is like an award show. And I think, again, this is really important to do. And, you know, I think we all have the ability to do this with our audience. I think you can just see how incredible it is. Here's a quick story before I move on to the next one, which is most encouraging. So the most encouraging in the crowd. I'll get to that in just a minute. But let me tell you a quick story. My first live stream that I remember participating in, sort of I was in your seat, was back in 2008. I just gotten let go from my architecture job. And I was trying to figure out this internet space. And then that's when I came across ProBlogger.net. ProBlogger.net, and a very amazing blogger who was helping so many people at the time, still is. His name is Darren Rouse from ProBlogger, ProBlogger.net. Not .com. .com was different. In fact, this is one of those examples I use all the time of somebody who's created a .net. Even in the era where .coms were like the mandatory thing, now they're not. He was still able to build a successful brand because he created what it was and it became what it is. It sounded good. I don't know if that actually makes sense, but he was blogging and helping us out. And I remember there was I can't even remember the name of the platform, blog.tv or blog chat. I can't remember, but it was like the first live streaming thing that I was ever a part of. And unfortunately, Darren lives in Australia. So he had mentioned that he was going to go live and answer questions. And unfortunately, it was going to be in the wee hours of the night here in the United States. Now, luckily, I didn't have a job, so I was, able to sort of be a little bit more flexible with my hours. So I think it was up until 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and I saw a live stream of his. And it was the most incredible thing to sort of interact with him. And even though I never, in the beginning at least, had him even know who I was, just seeing the interaction that he had with his audience was really cool. And it made me really fall in love with him even more and his brand and want to go deeper and give a shout out to him and talk about him and share him with my audience when I was starting to build it. Even sharing it now, a decade later, 12 years later. But the stream was about to close and it was like 3 a.m. in the morning. And he was like, okay, I'm going to take any final questions. If anybody has a question, let me know. So I typed in my question. I typed it in a bunch of times. And I was, getting a little bit discouraged. But it was a very large audience. So I kind of understood. And I didn't want to be angry at him. I mean, he was doing his best. He was showing up. And then all of a sudden he goes, okay, we have a final question here from Patrick Flynn. Patrick Flynn. Hi, Patrick. Nice to meet you. This is Patrick's question. And it said Patrick because when I was putting in my username, it said put in your full name. And back then I didn't anyway, I put in Patrick instead of Pat. The only other person who calls me Patrick is my mom when she's upset at me. Anyway, he said my name and I literally had goosebumps and was freaking out and was even yelling in the morning because I was so excited that he called out my name. And it was just a really cool experience. So I always remember that. And I think that that's also a little bit why I come in here. And I think it's important today, specifically to want to reward and thank you. And even just a name, a mention is so cool. So yeah, I remember that experience. And so big shout out to Darren Rouse for sure. Sue's asking, love Darren. Hey, Alex, good to see you. Love Darren too. He has a podcast. Yes, he has a podcast. In fact, he was also one of the first people to invite me on his show. And that was big because he had a big audience and still does. But that was one of the first guest podcasting interviews that I've done. And that was really cool. So who's this Patrick Flynn character, says Rob. Yeah, I don't know. He's the one who gets into trouble with his mom. Cool. So, most encouraging. Actually, I have a few people I have 3 people who I want to mention here. Or 3 usernames, if you will, because this first one is actually 2 people. Any guesses on who this in the community is one of the most encouraging people here or usernames? They have 2 names in their username. Let's see if you can guess who it is. I'm going to let the community decide. Let's see who comes in. Anyway, yeah, so Darren's great, and another big shout out to Yaro Staruk, who is one of the first guest podcast interviews I did, and those were absolutely key. So yes, exactly. We got Xenia and Vlada, which is one person or one username. There might be 2 people watching right now, but sometimes I would imagine it's just one. But yes, this is who it is. Diana is absolutely right. Xenia and Vlada, thank you so much for being so encouraging here in the group and being a part of the community. Liz, wow, thank you so much for the super chat that's going to get donated to the San Diego Food Bank here. But look at Xenia, Vlada, look at the community here. Everybody here saying how amazing you are and how encouraging you are. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Another shout out on top of that. Again, this is for most encouraging. Ellen Gregg. Ellen is one of those she's laying low and then she pops in and provides so much value, right? She's like a value ninja and she's very encouraging as well. So Ellen, thank you so much for being a part of the community. And finally in this category, Karma Cashflow. It's not his last name, but that's what I'm going to call him because I think it has a good ring to it. So Karma, I think I saw you in here. Karma Cashflow in the house. Thank you so much. You're encouraging also because you've taken massive action since being in here. I think you filmed 120 videos after one of those first streams, and you kind of just went whoosh, like boom, like went all in with it. And then Francis Taylor, I didn't write you down, but I see your name pop up, and I want to mention you too because you've been very consistent in here, and you've been very encouraging. Actually, you ask great questions as well, for sure. So yes, absolutely. Speaking of great questions, I do want to give a shout out, an honorable mention in that category of great questions to Corey Steiner. Corey, I saw you in here earlier. You've asked some really great questions too. Very, very specific often at times, but very unique and also very helpful for others, I've noticed. So Corey, thank you so much for that. All right, off to the final categories here. Most consistent. I mean, there's so many people that are consistent here, but I wanted to give a shout out to Hey Archer. Hey Archer, I don't know if you were in the house now. Karma, 140 videos. What? Are you serious? That is ridiculous. Thank you so much. Karma, yes, wow, incredible. But Hey Archer in the house. Hey Archer is another one of those who is taking massive action. He reached out to me on Instagram after one of the first live sessions and just said thank you. And that really stood out to me. And then every day he's come in here, and whenever he's come in here, he's provided without necessary, totally not necessary to do, but he's $1.99 every single time he comes in. And you don't have to continue to do that. You've done enough. But he's like, hey, here's for another set of meals for people in need. And he's come in here, he's asked great questions, he's shown up. And what I recognize every single day is he comes in and he shares behind the scenes of him learning here from you and me and posting it on Instagram. And then he's taking action too. He's bought Ecamm Live, he's getting the little stream deck with the buttons, and he's showing up for his audience too. So well done to Hey Archer. Okay, and finally, we have some honorable mentions. Now, honestly, I wish I could just name every single person that's in here right now because you've all contributed. Even if this is your first time, thank you for showing up. And this is exactly why we need to do what we do. I apologize if I don't mention your name and you think you deserve a shout out. Well, trust me, you do, which is why we have the automated super chats that pop up because sometimes I miss them. So that I'm very glad I was able to do that. But here are some final people that I want to make sure I mention because honestly, this wouldn't happen without you here in this amazing community. So, number one, Martin Hewlett. Martin, I think you're here. I see your black and white avatar pop up every once in a while, but I remember a website review that we did together and you telling me how helpful that was. And that was really cool because I think that just encouraged me to continue to do them. I often find that they take a little bit more energy to do, right? And we did a whole bunch of them yesterday. I think we did 5 or 6 yesterday, but I'm gonna keep doing them. And it's because of the amazing feedback from those who I do the reviews for. I think we did one for Sue the other day and for Denise, I think, and for a few others. Maybe not, I can't, all the names and website reviews are sort of jumbled right now. But Martin, I remember yours specifically because of the amazing feedback that you left. So thank you so much for that, Martin. Rap and comment, yeah, you're late, bro.
Bruh.
You're late. I gave you a shout out earlier. This is like the award show for people in the community. And what do you get? You get a shout out. And I don't have anything to give you right now. But I think what I want to do is maybe perhaps, when we get to day 100, we're going to do a formal, and remind me, when we get to like in the 90s, remind me, for those of you who are in here, that we're going to do a formal award show. I want to get like t-shirts made or something that you can get rewarded with here in the community. But anyway, thank you. But Martin in the house. Next, shout out, an honorable mention to Grandma Goody. You all know Grandma Goody, right? She comes in here with her questions and they're amazing. But more than that, she comes into the replay. I don't know if you all know this, but here on YouTube, you can choose to post the replay of the live streams later. And I do. I choose to do that. And we actually get, twice, if not more people watching the replay later, which is really cool. So if you're watching the replay, honorable mention to you. Thank you. But to Grandma Goody, she comes in to the replays and puts a recap in the comments. And I don't think she's done it with every single one, but almost every single one. So Grandma Goody, thank you so much for stepping forward. Connie, you're amazing. And we did a website review for you as well. And you took that like a champ and you're already making progress on that. Keep up the good work. You're closing in on 100 subscribers here on YouTube, so keep it up. I love that. E says, this is officially the most bruh thing I could have done. Yes, for sure. Sue says, by the way, Sue, you were on here. Right there at the bottom. I don't know if you can see that. But I want to give an honorable mention to you, too. You weren't here in the beginning, but you've come in recently and you show up, and we did a website review for you, too. And I just want to thank you. Honorable mention to you. Where do you get these ideas? Honestly, this idea came 10 minutes before the live stream happened. I said, you know what? It's Easter. I want to make this more casual. What would make people feel the best today? And then it was just like, hey, how can I mention? And I came up with these categories literally in 10 minutes. I watched some of the earlier live streams to go find the first comment and the first helpful person, all in 10 minutes. And here we are. So no, I don't plan often for these things to come ahead of time. But like everything I do, it's always what's going to be most helpful. What can I do to make people feel great? What can I do to best support? And here we are today doing this fun little award show kind of thing. Grandma Goody says, thanks. I started the recaps to get my husband to watch the parts I wanted him to watch. Nice. You're like, here you go, husband. These are the things you need to know. And then probably the parts where you show up, right? You're like, see, I'm in the community. Love it. Oh, haven't done your website review, but we will get to it. Okay, a couple more. Rob from Good Habit Living. You've popped in, you've asked questions. You're always very encouraging, and even though you don't stay the whole time, you do give a very polite, I gotta go, guys. Thank you so much. And I love that. Again, you don't have to stay the whole time. Even if you just pop in, say hello, and leave, that's good enough for me. So thank you so much. And then finally, Chris here. Chris, you've been showing up as well. Thank you so much, Chris. Chris Trostel. Anyway, and then AV. AV is another honorable mention here. You've come in, you did a rockin' website review yesterday, and I'm very happy for you. Honestly, I could keep going. Wendy and Liz and Denise. I mean, just the names I know that are just coming off the top of my head right now. I wish I could mention everybody, but thank you so much for allowing me to do that. And one more for the entire community today. That is the name of that segment. We're going to do that every month. I think that's really fun. So thank you so much for being here. So let's get to some questions. I am here to serve you. We're going to keep it casual. If you want to ask me fun questions, not that other questions about business aren't fun, happy to answer all kinds of questions. But if you just want to know something about me, or, you know, hey, tell us a story about a time when blank. This is, by the way, if you do a podcast, that's the secret weapon question right there. Imagine you're interviewing somebody and you want to know something about them. Start it off by saying, tell me about a time when you ran Facebook ads and it didn't go the way it expected. This allows a person to go deeper into their archive in their brain, pull out a story and share it. And that's really what these things are all about. Michael, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. I appreciate you. So tell me about a time when blank. And I got to give credit to where credit's due. I always try to do that. Alex Bloomberg from the Startup Podcast and Gimlet Media. Big congrats to them, by the way, getting purchased by Spotify, of all companies, which is amazing, for, I think, $350 million. I remember when the Startup Podcast began. It was a really fun show. It was the first sort of like really popular behind the scenes of the story of a startup. And Alex, who's from NPR, did a really amazing job. And then he created Gimlet Media. It was just a fantastic situation. But he has since offered several tips for people who are podcasting. And I remember, I think it was on a Creative Live that he did, where he shared this advice. And it just stuck with me ever since, because it's so key. If you ever want to have a story pulled out of somebody, like literally ask them to tell a story, right? So, hey, tell me about a time when something in your business didn't go as planned. It could be positive, it could be negative. Tell me about a time when one of your employees stepped up beyond the call of duty. These are ways that you can get people to tell these amazing stories. And if you have a podcast specifically, these are the stories that get remembered. They have context. They are relatable, more so than, hey guys, we're going to give you the 5 top tips for Facebook. Tip number 1 is always stay up to date on your Facebook ads manager, because that's really important to do, right? So I think that the stories that you want to get are really important. So I see a load of questions coming in. Pat, wash hands, wash hands, wash hands. Yes. Are my hands dirty? Is that why you're saying that? I'm not. Am I touching my face? I do touch my face quite often, unfortunately. But this is why the beard, right? This is added protection for me during this time. Anyway. Stacy says, OMG, Pat, I can't figure out how to adjust my shock mount, so I can't fit my mic in. How do you adjust this thing? So if you've got a shock mount that I recommended, it should be able to fit in there. If you get, for example, the Samson Q2U or the ATR 2100, not all shock mounts are created equal. I'm not exactly sure which one you got specifically, Stacy, but if you've gotten the ones I recommended, they should be there. There are ones, for example, that have a little pincher thing, like a chip clip, where you squeeze it and it would open up the thing for you to then put your mic in, and then it would close on top of it. So, Stacy, if you wanted to send me a picture, for example, pat@patflynn.com, I can take a look at it for you to see if you have the right one and be able to help you out if you're unable to do that. Liz says, "Can you answer my question from earlier today?" Liz, can you pop it? Can you pop it below again? I don't know how far back it might be, but I'd love to know how I can help you for sure. Corey says, "I just did a video with exceptional content. Great job. But my presentation maybe wasn't world class. Posted anyway. Great. That's exactly what you're supposed to do, because every time you're going to get better. You're obviously your own worst critic. So go in there, rewatch it, take notes, consider, okay, what could I have done different instead? Sometimes we don't know what we can do differently until later. But do some actually prefer at times a creator who's real versus all hardcore and polished? Yes, absolutely. I mean, by far, people appreciate when they see somebody who's not polished and perfect. In fact, that's what allows us to connect with people even more. I think that's what allows people to connect with me even more honestly, is because I largely am very public about the things that I don't do correctly and what I should do differently. And I think that that's a great way for you to connect. This is why bloopers are really fun and exciting and are very laughable. If anybody remembers Liz's question from earlier, let me know. Dude, this guy is going ham with, so Ardish, go to YouTube, type in free keyword tool, Pat Flynn. You're gonna see a video that says, talks about 5 different keyword tools that I recommend. Honestly, the number one tool that you can use is Google. Type in words that relate to your topic, scroll, and find out what the top things are, the top results are. Go in there and research why, and try to think, why are those ones the top results? How can I create something better? And then scroll to the bottom where it says related keywords. Those are other keywords that you should be talking about on your website. Over time, you talk about those things, Google's gonna start to see that you are relevant in that particular space. My apps question, have you ever heard of a business that helps podcasters structure interviews? Not in particular. I know that there are businesses out there that help people get interviews, and there's people out there who teach podcasting who within that, like myself, teach people how to do interviews. But for that specifically, sounds like a potentially great idea. See if you can get one podcaster to get and pay you to get them one consultation or coaching call to help you structure better interviews, and see if you can just do that, right? That'll validate it. That'll validate it for you and your process. That'll see if you can get a result so that you can move forward and find person number 2, person number 10, person number 100. All right, so I see Liz's question that came in. So Liz, here you go. I own a unique one-word domain, but can't use it because a big retailer uses that word in their branding with it. How might I approach them to buy it? How to determine the domain's value? Yeah, domains are only worth the amount that a person would pay for it, right? And if you are sitting on a one-word domain that you've picked up in the past, and actually yesterday, I think, or 2 days ago, we did a fun exercise where everybody in the room was sharing how many domains they have, and we had people all the way from 1 to 140, and I have 40, I think, or 30. I can't remember, but we all have domains, right? So its value is what it is to a person who buys it, because yes, it could potentially be worth something, but it actually isn't going to be worth anything until you sell it. So I would recommend just reaching out to them and pitching it and seeing where you can start the conversation from there, just to kind of see if they're even interested. Because honestly, if they're not even interested, it's not even worth thinking about it anymore until maybe down the road you can reach back out to them again and see what might happen. You could put it up for auction as well, which I know is something that's very popular. And if it's not something you're going to use, that maybe would be the next best case scenario. You could put it up onto an auction site, or you can even find a broker. This is the third option. So instead of you going to them directly, you could put it up on an auction sort of website. GoDaddy, I think, has their own that, you put it up there and they'll do it. And then number 3, you could find a broker. There are website brokers out there who know how to have conversations, who know how to deal with bigger companies who might be interested and, yes, could potentially get more dollar, but would also take a share of that. Cool. Thanks for sharing Liz's question. See how amazing the community here is? That's amazing. All right, let's keep going for some questions. Michael says, what service did you start at the beginning of going entrepreneur? Honestly, the only thing I bought was Bluehost for a domain. I don't use Bluehost anymore on Smart Passive Income. I use them from some of my smaller, more experimental sites still, but I outgrew Bluehost in about a year and a half after starting that. And then I didn't even start an email list right away. That was one of the biggest mistakes. A common question I get is, what would you do differently if you were starting over today? Number 1, I would have started my email list sooner. That is by far the biggest thing for sure. And number 2, I would have hired sooner. Now, I don't recommend hiring immediately off the bat. I think there's something of value doing the work yourself, especially for things like podcasting where, if you hire somebody off the bat and then they were to leave and then you're stuck, like, I don't even know where to go from here. I don't know what to do. My show is now affected. As long as you can come back and do it yourself for a while until you find somebody else, well, then that works. But I think that I would have hired much sooner. I had this sense of pride of doing everything myself, and I'm going to be the guy who does all the things. I don't need anybody else's help, and that's how I talked back then. But now I've realized that, well, I'm actually doing my audience a disservice by focusing on the things that aren't in my wheelhouse, and so I can hire out for those things, and I can get things done much faster, and I can help and actually spend more time with my audience when somebody else is doing a lot of that work, who often can do it much faster and better than I can. Also, I saw a super chat coming in. I want to make sure we give a shout out. I know it came up on the screen, but thank you so much. I think it was Wendy who came in. Wendy, Easter blessings. Thank you, Pat, for being an award-winning giver. Thank you so much. Today's about you guys, though. Today's about you guys. Have you dealt with affiliate programs you're a part of that are clearly not paying out? We've had terrible luck with multiple companies not counting clients we're sending their way. I'm actually dealing with one of those right now at Spanish and Go, to be honest. And the way to go about this would be if you have connections to your audience and you can guarantee and actually get communication from them that they came in through your link, then you can go with that communication, screenshots from emails, for example, or even if you have a connection to that audience, maybe a video, share that with the company and say, you know what, this isn't being tracked correctly. Unfortunately, I cannot continue to do this with a company that I don't know if you're doing this on purpose or not, but I really need this to be fixed now, or else I'm gonna move on to somebody else, unfortunately, because I'm putting a lot of resources, time, and money into promoting your stuff. The least you can do is see what you can do to make sure I get paid back. Here are the people who said they went through my link. If you could go back and honor those for me, at least, that would show me that you are honest. And if not, then I'm just gonna have to assume that you're just doing this because I'm helping you out for free, and I don't want to work with a company like that. So boom, that's how I'd go about it. Boom. Bruh. And I'm sorry that that's happening to you. Chris, no like goal today. No, we were spending the first 20 minutes here awarding and giving shout outs. And so, yeah, this is Easter. It's going to be a little less populated, I've noticed in the numbers today, and that's okay. We're going to go back to goals tomorrow. We're going to get fired up and make it happen. Some people were talking about the super chat, the Switch Pod. I don't know why I said super chat. Switch Pod in the house. Thank you so much for talking about that. That's been a fun, man, that was probably a highlight of 2019, was launching, one of the highlights of 2019 was launching Switch Pod in February 2019 with my partner Caleb. And that was after about 2 years of just from idea to prototyping to going to events, handing off prototypes to people, getting honest feedback. And honestly, the Switch Pod is very much a result of the communication that we had and the feedback from the YouTube and the videographer community. And big shout outs to people like Peter McKinnon who have expressed interest in it as well on their own channels, definitely helped give it a boost. But after 60 days of a Kickstarter campaign in February 2019, we made $418,000 from over 4,000 backers supporting the Switch Pod. I mean, it wouldn't be here without, again, the community. And I think that speaks to the way we launched that. People knew it was coming. A lot of people build things and they wait until the day of launch to sort of let people know, right? And that's definitely not the right way to do it, in my opinion, especially with how open we can be online and how we can bring people in on the process. And here's what I always say. I say this in Superfans. When you can get your people involved, they will be invested. When you can get your people involved, they will invest. Not necessarily invest all the time with money, but invest it with time, invest with support, invest with feedback, invest with sharing. So this is why if you're in creation mode right now, I want you to consider how are you sharing that you're creating this thing and building buzz for it ahead of time. Because, and I did this with my books. Y'all remember Superfans? Superfans. Martin, thank you so much for the super chats. Actually, a few just came in recently. Wow, just the super chats are going crazy. Rhino Dog, Pat, thanks for the motivation you provide that helped me start my podcast this week. All the information from these shows and other videos. Thank you so much. There he is. There's Rhino Dog. I guess they don't come in an order with super chat, but there was somebody else. Diana, thanks for being and connecting me with awesome people. Thank you, Diana. I appreciate you so much. And you've been very active here in the group too. And I want to definitely mention that and thank you for that. But still continuing the story, you know, with Superfans, my latest book, you can see it right here. Actually, you know what? I haven't talked to you in a while. This camera. It's a little bit bright here, I understand. So it's going to be a little blurry, but hey, I'm just going to mix it up a little bit. But with Superfans that you can see back there, this was written in public. Essentially in November of 2018, if you don't know the story, after a year and a half of trying to write this, in fact, I even hired a company to see if they can write it for me with ghostwriting and a lot of interviews because I still wanted it to come from me. It just didn't work out. You know, and it wasn't to the company's fault. It was just, this was a book that I had to write myself, I found out. But I needed space to do it. So in November of 2018, November is something called NaNoWriMo. There's a challenge that writers take in Novembers to write 50,000 words in the month of November. And I was like, okay, I'm going to use this opportunity in 2018 to step up and write this book finally. So every day I shared how many words I was writing. And I remember because I ran a little contest saying, okay, if you can guess how many words I write the day prior and not be over, well, then you'll win something. I think I was giving away signed copies of my other book, Will It Fly? And the first day I got the guesses and it was like 1,500, 2,000, 5,000, Pat, you can do this. And the first day I wrote 300 words. And it was just, I was very deflated after that. But I kept going because I was working in public. That's the other part of working in public is you have that accountability. The next day I wrote, I think 500, and then 600, 700, 1,200, 1,800. And I got to the point where I was writing 3,000 to 4,000 words a day. But it only came after that momentum started. An object at rest tends to stay at rest until acted on by an outside force. And it really was a slow start. So once I got started though, an object in motion tends to stay in motion, right? This is physics as much as it is business. And so I got going and I finished not on November 30th, but actually on my birthday, December 6th, 2018. And that's how I wrote Superfans. So by the time Superfans came out, there it was. And everybody knew about it and everybody was excited for it. And we actually turned that around quite quickly. We were able to get the first draft done before the end of the year. And then the second draft in January, and then it was design mode in February, and then starting to market it and build a launch team on Facebook and really get people excited about it, book podcast guest spots, months ahead of time for a July launch. And we launched it in July. In fact, it was launched at FlynnCon, and I revealed it there at the event. People were really excited, and they were like, Pat, I'm going to go buy it. And I was like, don't, because we're going to give it to you for free. And so we gave away 500 copies of Superfans for free there at the event in exchange for just a lot of good vibes, a lot of people sharing it, taking pictures of it, and then helping to promote it when it came out. And that was really cool. So Superfans, that was the origin of it, and that was working in public, essentially. So letting people know that you're working on this thing as you're working on it. So is there anything that you're working on? By the way, this is your opportunity. Let us know in the chat what it is you're working on, just so we can get excited about it, so we could rally behind each other and get stoked on that. Cool. Let's keep going with some questions here. Facupola says, any special recommendations for increased Instagram followers? Because nowadays it stopped growing. Travel account, we post stories daily, throwback Thursday posts, weekly posts, etc. So to be honest, oops, wrong view. By the way, I haven't mentioned that yet. If you go to smartpassiveincome.com/toolkit, you'll see this page here, which is a resource to help you during this time of crisis. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Some podcast episodes to help. If you know anybody who got laid off, this episode 2 here is really providing a lot of value for people. I tell my story about how I got let go, and then my COO, Matt, comes on to share how you might be able to start freelancing and supplementing your income right now. Work from home tips. This course, Smart from Scratch, we've given away over $1.3 million worth of that course. Build your own brand, 0-100 email challenge, and books, and plus some additional resources to help you related to the CARES Act, other crisis help during this time from other partners and such. Anyway, what I was going to share over here is related to the growth of Instagram. So growing Instagram, I'm not huge personally, meaning I just don't do this. I don't actively try to grow my Instagram follow. It just kind of grows organically through people sharing, because I use Instagram in a way where it's not necessarily a place where I want to market or a place where I want to, bring. It's not a primary platform for me, but it is something that I'm active on. And essentially, a few times a week I go on and I post my regular feed. I post my stories every day, but it kind of just grows as a way for people. It's a platform for me to share more about myself and be human with my audience. That's how I use that platform, right? I know there's a lot of great people out there who are growing their Instagram like crazy, and I don't know how to grow Instagram like crazy. I do know that there's some good information on founder.com. If you look up F-O-U-N, actually I'm gonna go look this up right now for you. F-O-U-N-D-R, Instagram growth. Let's see. So how to get more Instagram followers, step by step. So this is from my good friend Nathan Chan, who's the founder of Founder, F-O-U-N-D-R. That's Nathan right there. He's awesome, from Australia. How to get more followers on Instagram in 2 weeks. This is a great post. There's also a lot of great stuff on YouTube as well. YouTube.com. Hey, there we are, live right now. Vanessa Lau. Instagram. So Vanessa is a new creator that I've discovered recently. She is exploding. She has some really great information, and specifically on Instagram and many other things about Instagram and social media and whatnot. But she's great. If you know her, say hi to her, let her know I said hello. We've gotten connected through Instagram a little bit, and we were supposed to meet each other this September in Vegas at a conference for video influencers, but I don't know if necessarily that's going to happen anymore. But Vanessa Lau is fantastic too. Any other Vanessa fans, let me know. But yeah, she's fantastic. She's great, and I definitely highly recommend her for sure. So yeah, I'm sorry I don't have more information for you, Fakupalo, but I'm just being honest. It's not my wheelhouse for sure. All right. And yeah, she learned from Sunny Lenarduzzi, and Sunny is great as well. Grandma Goody here. I feel like I've gotten to know you better on Instagram than anywhere else. And yeah, and then that's again my strategy for Instagram, is just how can I show up and be more human on that platform. So you'll notice a lot of posts about sort of things that I'm up to, memories that come to mind, family related things, and those kinds of things. It's not necessarily, I know some Instagram followers are collected through a lot of more inspirational posts, like information and quotes and things like that. But that's just not my style. I think finding your style and being just that on Instagram. Sorry, gas. Bruh. Trying not to burp is really key. So, all right, let's keep going here. There we go. Just purchased Superfans on Audible. By the way, is there a difference for you if I pay with credits versus buying full price? Diana, thank you so much for asking that. That's super kind of you. No, there is no difference. I get the same royalty either way. So thank you so much for that. But yes, it's on Audible. You're also going to notice that Superfans, if you also have the text version of the book, that it's actually a little bit different. I read the book and narrate it, but I actually go off script a little bit. I learned that from Gary Vee. And so I go off script like him, minus the explicitives. Because that man has a mouth on him, doesn't he? Wow. That's why, not a rant here. I love Gary. He's one of my favorite people. He and I are good friends. We're on the advisory board of Pencils of Promise. We build schools. But, I can't share him with my son or daughter. And I would love to, because his stuff is so important to listen to. But I just honestly can't share that kind of crudeness to my kids. Now, I'll share with other people. I don't care. But with my kids, it's just not something I want them to get exposure to right now. So I will channel Gary Vee and give it back to my kids and say words like fudge instead. No, I don't even do that. But that's just the unfortunate thing. Although Gary, I think, has followed his advice from his followers, and he has a curse-free Gary Vee. curse-free Gary V, which I know is hard for him to do. So I don't know. I've listened to it. It's weird because it's like, thank you for not swearing, but it's also not his authentic self, right? And so it's interesting. I don't know. I kind of go back and forth on curse-free Gary V because I appreciate that, but I'm also like, well, this isn't. He kind of needs to swear, right? That's who he is, and I appreciate him so much for that, for just being who he is, right? By the way, I love the off script and Will It Fly. Hope this is the same style. Exactly the same style. I think even more fun because it's a lot more storytelling. Consult a blind guy. I'm going to give you a shout out here. I'm legally blind and on disability. I'm trying to build my channels, music production, artworks, and more. Trying to become my own boss and get off disability. There you go. I love that. And I have in my audience a number of people who are followers, who take my courses, who are also blind and are making it work. So it is possible. I hope, and it doesn't sound like you're doing this, but you're using this disability as an excuse. You're using it to your advantage. It's in your brand name, and I love that. So keep going strong. I can't wait to see where you end up from here. So yeah, thanks for being here and a part of the community, and keep going. Isaiah, another shout out to Isaiah, by the way. Isaiah, a 15-year-old here who's been a part of the community more recently, and he's stepping forward and trying new things, which I think is awesome. He said, not sure what the access point is for programming offered by Shark Tank Sharks for young entrepreneurs. Might be worth looking into. Sorry, I missed the conversation there, but here's a question from Karma. What is your money management like personally? Are you a spender, a saver? Do you invest in your money? This is a great question. So here's how I have my money come in. So my money comes in, and I already know where it's going to go because I have specific percentages. A certain percentage goes into savings, mostly for tax purposes. A specific percentages go into different accounts that I have. If you go into my bank account, you're going to notice that there's like 8 different categories or 8 different accounts that money. It's not automatic. I go in and I choose to not have it done automatically because I like to know that I'm actively placing the income that comes in from my businesses and then dispersing them into where they need to go. So for example, there's an account called Pat's Fund Money. There's an account called April's Fund Money. There's an account called Spending. There's an account called Living Expenses. There's an account called Lake House. There's an account called investment opportunities. So I'm not going to share the percentages, but money comes in, right? Like light going into a prism, and then the prism disperses it into the different colors. And that way I just know that, and if I make more, and if I happen to make more in one month, then boom, they get, the percentages still work out. And if I happen to make less, and that's kind of what happens when you're an entrepreneur, sometimes you make less, sometimes you make more. That was the hard part for me. It's like, well, I don't know how to manage my money because the money is sort of fluctuating. But when it's percentage based, then I know that, well, okay, if I work harder and I have more things happen, then great, the percentages still work out. And then I see these funds grow. And they, my living expenses one are for bills and stuff and such. Spending is like for sort of clothing and haircuts and the things that aren't necessarily bills that are on repeat. And I just make sure that those things are automatically paying those things out. And then in my investment account, that's where, so first of all, the fun money ones are like, okay, here's April's money, here's my money. We can do whatever we want with them. I'm saving up for a DeLorean in mine, but we can do whatever we want, and there's no shame in that, right? And I think and that's like the lowest percentage in the channel, but that allows for, hey, this is money that we've earned. April just as much earns money as much as I do, and she, as a stay-at-home mom, deserves that more than I do. So that's just her account to do whatever, like no questions. You can burn that money. You can do whatever you want with it. I don't care. She doesn't care. And that just is a way for us to know that, okay, if we've seemingly spent something on something ridiculous, like how I bought this Mandalorian helmet behind me, there's no questions because that came from not the living expenses or spending expenses. That came from Pat's fun account, right? So this Mandalorian helmet, for example, is just one of those things. And then, yeah, Professor Perseverance here, Dave Ramsey envelope system, yes. And there is also a category for charity as well, by the way. A large amount of that goes to Pencils of Promise, and that's through a more just sort of recurring yearly charge. But yeah, and then the investments on one are like investment opportunities. So it just collects in there, it collects. And when I see an investment opportunity, for example, I recently invested in a coffee shop here in San Diego locally because I really love this family and I really love what they're doing. And it's an investment in that as an opportunity to help support a small business that I really care about. And in exchange, it's almost treated like a personal loan, if you will. And I get that money back in a couple years plus some interest. So those kinds of things are there. And again, it makes me feel great knowing that, I've accumulated over time that amount of money to then use and invest in other things. So that's kind of how it works. Bruh. Do you automate it somehow? I automate the bill spending every month on those accounts where there are bills and usual things. All that kind of stuff. But I don't automate the percentages that go out. I like to calculate. I like to see how they're growing personally. So I want to get my hands dirty with that. I could automate that. I could automate that. I could, but I don't want to because I like to see, okay, we got X amount of money coming in this previous month. Let's divvy it up and award those accounts that income. Thank you for that question, Karma. Liz says, your income funneling is so helpful. Where else can we hear you talk about financial advice for entrepreneurs? YouTube, podcast, blog. Honestly, I don't talk about it very often because I think everybody has their own different version that works for them. That's what works for us. Now, that doesn't mean that it's wrong or that it's not the best way. I don't know. I think I just have to be open, and I don't know if that's a big topic that you want to learn more about. I'd be more than happy to share my system, and whenever I share like my system, I teach it in a way to sort of be as an example and help others and get inspiration. But I don't do it as a way for like, hey, this is the right way to do it. I think that's where my head is at when it comes to those financial related things. It's like I don't want it to come across as Pat's sharing like the number one way to do it. Might be that in the title for clickbait, but and then I have to deliver on that obviously. But that's where my head's at, especially with financial advice. It's almost to me like it's the same thing as sort of dieting advice. It's like, well, my diet's not going to be the same as your diet because we're different bodies, right? Big shout out to Hey Archer. Hey Archer, we were doing, you're late in here. You go watch the replay because I did give you a shout out in our sort of awards show here at the beginning. I was giving mentions to those who in the community are very important for the success being here. Missed your shout out, but that's okay. There was no prize other than just a thank you. So no worries, and happy Easter to you. So Karma, I automate it out to all 18 of my accounts, and I look at special statement. I do this every single morning. Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's pretty cool. I see everybody's different, so perhaps if that would be helpful, I would do that for sure. Cool. Awesome. So we have 6 more minutes here. I still appreciate that. Thank you so much. Isaiah says, when I'm in the income stream, I feel like vine growing grapes. Love it. Tasty grapes. Red or green? Purple. I don't know. Kingdom culture. Most people are millionaires already, but have spent the money on useless things. $5 a day times 365 times age. Yeah, I mean, that's true. Although I'm in the camp of, when it comes to money, funny story, back when I was in architecture, I was a big saver. Like I saved every dollar. And I was so busy working that I didn't really need to spend money on anything, right? So that was helpful because that accumulated money for a down payment for a house a number of years later after I was married. But I was more in the camp of, you know what, I'm not going to have that latte. I'm not going to go to Starbucks today. I'm going to make my own coffee. And I'm going to go a little bit lighter on the lunch because I want to save money, even though I really want the buffalo wings. Like I'm not going to get the buffalo wings because of money. And I eventually found a website called iwillteachyoutoberich.com from a good friend of mine now, Ramit Sethi. And at first I was a little put off by the way that he talked about what he talked about. But, eventually he won me over. And he won me over because he started talking about the things in my life that I realized were really important to me. And that were the big wins. That is, okay, go have your latte. Go eat the buffalo wings. You can do that. Enjoy the pleasures in life that you want. So long as you're smart about your money and you go for the big wins, right? So instead of saving, $2.99 on a latte every week, instead go get that latte. I love how sort of Ramit's framed that. So this is the opposite of what I was following before, which were these frugal bloggers. Frugal is not a bad word, but frugal was like, okay, let's not spend money on that so that we could save money and enjoy it when we're 65. Versus Ramit's like, no, you enjoy life now, but also you got to be bold and take those big wins. That means getting a pay raise when you know you can, or potentially you can, but you just haven't stepped up to do that, or starting your own business, or some really smart money-making decisions that are going to get you tens of thousands of dollars in a shorter period of time versus trying to get tens of thousands of dollars over a long period of time. So I love that philosophy, and I find that philosophy to hold true in business too, where yes, we could save our latte and not spend our money, but the equivalent of that would be like just writing a blog post and not doing anything with that. Answering emails, reposting on social. Like, these are the smaller things that do get results, but it takes a long time versus the bigger wins that are like, okay, I'm going to work hard to be a star student in a person's community and then be the example student and get exposure that way. Or I'm going to, write an ebook and something that takes more time, and I'm going to learn specifically how to manage my ebooks on Amazon and really understand all the ins and outs about that, and learn about the advertising system on Amazon and get connected in the Kindlepreneur. Big shout out to Dave, who's in that channel. Like, bigger wins go so much longer and can provide that sort of flexibility. And you know what? I'm going to have that latte. So I think that's really key. Management is key. So if we cannot manage the little we have, then how do you think we'll manage it for our given more? Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because money just kind of amplifies your behaviors, right? If you are a spender, I mean, you're going to spend more. If you're not a spender, you're going to save more. It's much like how I think the crisis that's happening right now is almost amplifying truth in people too. I think that it's interesting. People's habits are showing up now more than ever, right? If you are not a great eater and you don't take care of your body, well, that's going to show up even more now because we're all at home, and that's sort of, you have more opportunities to do something or not do something. My wife and I, April and I, were just talking about that the other day, specifically with different kinds of people and introverts versus extroverts. And it's like, when you see an extrovert during this crisis work so hard to make connections online and they're on Zoom calls all the time, I mean, that's just who they are and what they need, and it's kind of showcases their personality more. And same with an introvert, who might be a little bit more comfortable during this kind of time, but even less wanting to connect with others who are there and are lonely and might want you to come out and step up and try to reach out to them. I don't know, it's just a very interesting thing. Cool. So Rob says, rapid comment, oh man, was thinking the same. So many t-shirts can come out of this group. Okay, so you're not the first, or y'all aren't the first to ask for swag, right? And here on YouTube, interestingly, it connects, if you have a channel, to a Teespring account. Teespring is a merchandise sort of website. So let me ask you, what should the first shirt be? You can actually integrate and actually show the shirts and stuff right underneath the video. So that might be kind of cool. And I would purchase those shirts. I would wear them. So I don't know what the first shirt would be, but party pooper in the house. You mean the thumbs down? It's not a party without the party pooper, honestly. It's almost like the movie Inside Out. You got to have sadness in order to see the happy, right? That's the big lesson in the end. And so we got to have the thumbs down, right? We got to have the thumbs down because it makes the thumbs up look even more great. So thank you so much for that. Cool. Bruh, we want a bra shirt.
Bruh.
That's so funny. Hey, y'all, we are at hey, there's a second thumbs down. Thank you so much. Let's turn that thumb up some. That's what I usually say. Turn that thumb up some. It looks like we want a bra shirt. All right, I'll see if I can get somebody to design something. I don't want it to just go #bra. Maybe that would work. I don't know. A thumbs down shirt would be hilarious too. Or a thumbs down shirt where it's like 100 thumbs ups on one side and then 1 thumbs down on the other side. I don't know. That would be funny too. Cool. So hey, happy Easter, Happy Passover if you celebrate it. If not, I want to celebrate you, and that's what I wanted to do here today. If you go back and watch the replay, you'll notice that the first 20 minutes we're just giving shout outs to amazing people here in the community. And there's so many more who I want to give a shout out and thank you to that I just can't possibly do right now, or else we'd be here for another 3 hours. And we all have our families to be with right now, and I have mine. And I just want to wish you well today, and thank you so much for here. Remember, this is the link to go to if you ever get lost, patflynn.com/the-income-stream, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, every single morning for however long we need to do this until we get out of this together. And I think this is going to continue afterwards. The time might need to change, especially if the kids go back to school. But hey, I've learned, I think, that many school districts are not going to have their kids go back to school this year, and I doubt it's going to be something that happens in my school district as well. So, hey, we're going to be doing this for a while. So I appreciate you being here. If you have missed a day or two, that's totally fine. Don't feel like you're missing out. You can always catch the replays, but I'm here for you. I am thankful that you are here for me too. We are in this together. We can't lose if we're here together, right? Honestly, truly, we all have each other. So take care. Have a great day. Thank you so much. And yeah, wishing you all the best. Peace. Happy Easter. We'll see you tomorrow.
This is the income stream to help you achieve your dream, all while we keep it clean. This is the income stream. It's the kind of show where you can come and go, but then you leave inspired with no fee required. The income stream with Pat Flynn.